Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford. Today we also have a special guest with us, our opening kill. He is a co-host with me for Slayerfest 98, author of YA novel Surrender Your Sons. Please welcome
Adam Sass.
Yes.
Hi, Adam.
Hi everyone. Oh my gosh, here we are.
You are our first guest.
I'm the Drew Barrymore. I'm the Jada Pinkett. Although she wasn't first. It was technically the boyfriend first.
Yeah, I've been telling everybody we've got our first guest on My Bloody Judy, and it's a published author. So
oh my god,
pretty big deal around my household right now.
Ooh, okay, so published. Oh my gosh, stamped of approval. Well, thank you all so much. Yeah, this is exactly, yeah, so you need a star to kill off in your opening scene.
Yes.
Here I am. Everyone's expecting me to stay the whole episode, but I'll just die in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Throw that transatlantic accent on and let's get to it.
In Radioland. Oh god, I'm made for that. I'm made for it.
Yeah, so like Ian said, Adam is the author of Surrender Your Sons. Tell us a little bit about that book real quick. We'll throw some promo in here.
Yeah, Surrender Your Sons is my debut novel. It's a young adult thriller, mystery, action adventure. It is about Connor Major, who is a young gay boy who is abducted out to a conversion therapy camp on this sort of secretive, mysterious island, very lost, very Lord of the Flies. And on this island, he starts to uncover some of the dark secrets that the camp is hiding, and he meets the other teenage campers there. And while uncovering the mystery, they decide that they're going to band together and basically escape and shut down the camp in the process.
I almost was like, wait, where did oh, that's the review I wrote because it's one of my employee staff picks at work. And I think I thought I did a pretty good, concise, rec for it, Adam, but now I can't even remember what the fuck I said on it.
I mean, it's pretty pitchable. I mean, it's pretty much just it's like queer teens rebel against a conversion therapy camp, shut it down. It's an escape story. It's like a prison break story. It's a lost escape the island story, but with this sort of very queer righteous fury angle.
Yeah, Surrender Your Son. So me and my husband listened to it on a road trip we just recently took, and we really, really liked it. And I was looking through some of the hype for it, and top 2020 indie press books of the year, nominated for Best Villain and Epic Reads Book Contest. Any others you can think of?
It's Kirkus Reviews, which is a big trade review, named it as one of the top YA books of 2020. My mom said it was her favorite book of all time. But she's just trying to score points because she is very nervous that people will think that I based the mom character off of her, which I did not.
Yeah, well, I really, really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have another one from you pretty soon.
Ooh, I cannot confirm or deny, but looking good. Well,
today we are going to be doing a 2-in-1. We're going to be covering the 1974 and 2006 versions of Black Christmas. We're not going to be doing 2019 version because, I mean, that movie's more of its own thing anyway, so it doesn't really follow the plot of these two. It
doesn't even feel like horror to me, that movie. I mean, I've only seen the trailer, but that's why it just felt so much more like it felt more like an action-y kind of. It felt like Sucker Punch a little bit, but not stylized.
Yeah. Had you all seen either of these movies before we decided to sit down and do this?
Yes, I'm a big long-term fan of the original Black Christmas in the 1970s.
And had you seen the 2006 one before, Adam?
No, I have not. Because again, I'm such a snob. I'm that guy. I'm like, well, they basically stopped making good horror after 1982.
Oh, whatever.
You really are that person.
I'm just I have none interest, and I really have to force myself. And I'm like, it's good.
And Ian, you hadn't seen either of them.
I hadn't seen either of them. No.
Yeah. Well, I was really excited for you to watch them and very disappointed at your reaction.
I mean, you liked when I didn't like What the hell movie didn't I like? Oh, I mean, I liked it, but you liked hearing me be shitty about
I
Halloween.
did. No. I welcome the opposing opinion, but I don't
You
I
know.
felt so bad after that. I text Zach to be like,
Wait a
"Hey, I'm sorry
minute.
if I was too mean," and Zach was like, "No, I thought it was good."
Like
Because I could
Halloween
hear
1978 or like 2018?
2018 because
Oh.
in Halloween 1978 he was like I could tell there was a lot he wanted to say and he was holding back. So for
Well,
2018 I just told him go
we,
for it.
I won't relitigate Hollywood 2018. Halloween 2018.
But I will
But
relitigate Halloween
I
20.
will because I don't want Ian to just die a hard, lonely death out here. Because I do. It's one of those things where I feel like Halloween is so important to me.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like super. I don't think it's bad. Like I feel like it's a really good. I still watch it every year. I'm super into it. Like I would watch
Hmm.
it right now. It's just a matter of like I feel like my hardest reviews for things often are not like the super flops, but when it's so close to greatness
Yeah.
and it fails in a few key ways, that for me ends up being like so. Because I think like the new Star Wars movies are kind of like that, where I'm like, oh, you could have done this and this and that, and then it would have been great. Now we have
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hate it now. Like,
Yeah, no, and I would agree with that with the newest Halloween that like it was very close to being great. And I did enjoy it. Like there was
right.
definitely stuff I liked. Just,
Like the writer in me was just like, if why didn't you do A, B, and C? Like it's kind of a little bit. It's a little bit just like move. Like I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just
yeah.
like
I mean, there was a lot. Yeah, just like you said, it was just so close to greatness. But the good thing about that is they have Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends following those up. So
I'm
there's plenty of room for course correction. You know, to take the
yeah.
criticisms from the fans and from critics and kind of apply those going forward.
I super agree, Zach, and I feel like the critiques, everyone's critiques are basically the same. So I
Yeah,
feel like there's not going to be a lot of like, oh, people hated
yeah.
different things, and
I
it
mean,
was
you
like,
never fucking know. We could Dr. Sartain could just be coming back. You
oh
know.
my god, I would be like, what is y'all's problem? Like I'd be like, what are we doing with this doctor? I was almost like, are you doing an homage to like
Yeah, it's
all
something.
the Halloweens? Because it
Yeah.
felt like so. Another thing, so like my husband like still like enjoys this movie, but like he has a different qualm. Like he is his favorite Halloween is two. So he's like super mad that
Yeah.
got retconned out. So
A
like
lot of people were. I think it was
yeah,
just if the sister we'll have to cut all this out because
right.
it's too long anyway. But if the sister storyline wasn't into, I feel like they would have included it. But I feel like they felt pinned up against the wall having a sister brother storyline.
Yes, because H2O did it so well, and
Yeah.
there was a YouTuber, I can't remember his name right now, but he had a really good thing where he was basically like if the aesthetic and the cast of Halloween 2018 had been done with the script of Halloween H2O, like
Yeah.
merge those two movies, it would be the perfect movie.
Something
Yes.
similar.
I'm glad you said that, Adam, because Zach does not look as lovingly on
That's not
H2O.
true. No, I
Well,
love H2O. I think it is a summer teen horror flick
it is.
movie. And it feels like that. It feels very California,
It
stable of actors. It feels like that to me, but I still very much love the story. And it is one of Jamie Lee Curtis's best performances.
correct because here's the thing, like, and I feel like this comes down to everybody's personal taste. So I feel like Zach, I feel like you need the flavor of Halloween in there, and like it
Yeah,
does not have that. It has like Scream flavor. It has like I Know What You Did Last Summer
that's
flavor.
exactly it. Yes.
And it just was made in this. It just like is drenched in that like weirdly slick, sort of late '90s way of doing horror,
Hmm.
which works like gangbusters for other things. But like I feel like Halloween has like such a vibe, um, that it's missing that Halloween vibe. But you have these great emotional touch points and climaxes and I don't know. Yeah, it feels way more like Laurie makes sense more in this one than she did in 2018 for me. But we're opening that box up again. We got to talk about Black Christmas. But I mean, it's important to talk about Halloween when talking about Black Christmas
It
because
is.
these
It
two are
is.
linked.
They
Yeah,
are.
I didn't know until Zach told me. I would have assumed that this was like a ripoff of Halloween, but
Hmm.
it came first, which is wild.
Yeah, it was some. I can't remember what the thing is, but it was Carpenter and Bob Clark, who directed Black Christmas original, I think had were like they were sort of there's some, see, I should have done my research better before, but there was something where it is sort of unofficially, like Halloween is sort of unofficially the second anthology installment that Carpenter and Bob Clark came up with. So this is actually word for word from the late Bob Clark, who directed Black Christmas. So this is his quote. He said he never intended to do a sequel to Black Christmas. He did a film of a few years later. He worked with Carpenter a few years later for like Warner Brothers, and Carpenter on set like asked if he was ever going to do a sequel to Black Christmas, and he said no. He said he was done with horror. He didn't want to do it. And then Carpenter said, "Ooh, well, what would you do if you did a sequel?" And he said it would be like the next year, and that the guy from Black Christmas would actually have been caught, escaped from an institution, and go back to the house and start all over again, and he'd call it Halloween. Yeah. So they sort of did it's one of those things where like it's not listed on anyone's IMDb because it was just like a conversation like this. Like it would just I
have heard that part. Yeah.
So it's nothing like official. Like, and I'm not saying like Carpenter copied or anything, but it was basically one of those things where like it's two like creative guys being like, oh yeah, well, what would you do? I would do this. And like, ooh, interesting, and you know.
Well, I mean, most things take inspiration from something or another anyway. For sure. So, like the word copy, I don't know. I mean, unless it's blatant, I think it's a word that gets thrown around a little too much. But I mean, both of these movies, 1974 and 2006, the reason we're covering both of them is because they follow the same sort of story of a group of sorority girls at a sorority house who begin receiving threatening phone calls from a psychopath named Billy. And this is the basic setup for both films. It's based on the urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs. I had to do a little research on that because me and Ian were talking about it, and I was sure that it was that urban legend, because urban legends come from somewhere, that was a real thing, and it was. So the urban legend comes from the 1950 murder of Janet Christman. She was 13 years old, and she was babysitting for a family, and police got a call from her, and she was just screaming for help on the phone. The line was cut, and they couldn't trace it because she hadn't been on very long, and they were just hoping that she'd call back. The family got home and found her body, and that is the babysitter and the man upstairs.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
So is this sort of like awful. The origin of that, like When a Stranger Calls?
Yeah. Wow. So When a Stranger Calls is heavily based on that urban legend, and then this one is pretty on there. These kind of horror stories are these are what scare me the most is realistic things like this.
I was just gonna say this scares me so much. I'm sitting in my dark office and I've got these sort of just mood lights, and I'm so scared, like it, because it's just one of these things that, like, you know, we just moved to this area, and you know we've been living in LA for years, and then we just moved out to sort of the country in North Carolina, and it's just so like it's so dark at night. Like my eyes aren't used to. I'm like, well, where's the street lights? And they're like, there's no streetlights. See, this is how me being the opening kill makes sense, because I'm in that Casey Becker house where the cops will never get to you in time. Like that, I keep thinking about that.
Ian, what were your initial thoughts on both of them back to back? Because we watched these back to back.
Okay, Elaine, say I hated
it. Yeah, not unlike Elaine, I was like, stop telling your stupid story about the stupid sorority girls and just die already, is how I felt.
It does take a long time for them to kill it. Like they kill the first one first really quickly, and then it takes a while.
Yeah.
Long. And my unpopular opinion is that I do know what you mean, Zach. Like, I do think they catch the feel, and the 2006 remake also, I think, does a good job of like catching the like feeling of like holiday movie, but make it horror. But good God, are they both very boring?
Oh goodness!
Oh, you're doing that Twitter gay thing where your like critique is this amorphous boring. I was bored.
I was.
No.
I didn't think you were gonna like 1974, but I figured you would like 2006 a little bit more, just because it seemed a little bit more polished up, and like had Michelle Trachtenberg, and even that one you weren't about it.
So. I liked it better though. I thought it was like fine.
Okay.
I think you watched this on a bad day. That's what I think.
I think I would appreciate the original more if I had maybe seen it when I was younger. Like, I think that's something that I would like.
True.
Because Halloween, like the original Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis, I always still feels kind of like the only actual actor in that movie. Like no one else is like, she's picking up all the slack in a lot of those scenes. Um, and it just feels very 70s. This movie feels that way. And like Margot Kidder and the older house mother can be charming at times, but like the main character is completely flat. She's not a good actor.
Yeah.
She has like, it's like she's trying to cover up her accent by doing a weird American accent, and I don't know what the accent she's doing is.
Well,
I
Olivia
don't.
Hussey, like speaking of transatlantic,
Yeah, I think
she
that is just the way she spoke.
Is
that
it?
is,
Yeah.
yeah, she did
Yeah.
have this. Speaking of transatlantic, like she did have this very like sort of elocution clipped way of
She,
speaking.
she was Olivia Hussey was an eccentric one. She was
She's yes, which is why I'm like great. I don't want some just normie in this role. I want like, why are we following this very like British question mark woman?
so going into Black Christmas 1974, directed by Bob Clark, who also did A Christmas Story. Didn't realize that until like I was looking all this stuff up. So he's got Christmas under his belt.
And it's
Loves the
they
Christmas.
have the same kind of energy. Weird, like there's a weird sort of like, I feel like he's telling this like sort of dark side, light side of the coin, of thing of Christmas is just like, you know, here's the vibe, and the lighting is so correct. I feel like he really loves, like that sort of total darkness with just a few Christmas lights on, and sort of
Yeah.
having that just be the only lighting you're seeing in the like the final scene of A Christmas Story. We just watched that the other day at home, and it's very Black Christmas, that scene, because it's like it's warm and cozy, but all it needs is like, it's the same vibe, it's the same like
Right.
shot,
And it also is still like a little bit ugly.
Mhm.
It's a little ugly, yeah. It's that sort of thing where it feels used.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how they say about the like the original Star Wars versus the prequels, how everything, like, it felt like a used future, it felt lived in.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing about this house, is this house feels lived in.
Yeah.
And it being sort of one of the first big slashers, we don't really have the archetypes in place yet. So there is sort of a like nice vibe to the sorority sisters. I like, it's like a very young Andrea Martin that throws me every time. Because I love her so much, but like as the big fat Greek wedding aunt or whatever, like, so
Yeah.
like, you're not used to seeing her being like, well, here I am, college sophomore.
Like nice nerd.
Nice
Yeah.
nerd. Oh, I know. Like she like her vibe is so my best friend from college. Like it's just I get that every time I see it. I'm like, wow, this like really nice nerd who just kind of gets swept up in this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really like Margot Kidder in this. Obviously, she's got the brassiness down. She's not quite Lois Lane yet, but she's getting there.
Yeah. I think she's the best one in this movie.
Oh,
I think.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Very good drunk acting. I hope it was
Yeah.
acting. I know it's the 70s and they really did it back then.
she's
But
drinking. She's drinking. Well, I think her death scene was shot so perfectly, and I think out of everything, that's what Ian like stopped and like paid attention to. I saw you look up from your phone, and then after it, you told me how much you liked how that was done.
you're like,
I
I
love.
liked the unicorn icicle glass thing.
Yeah.
End of
It's
list.
well. It. Also, I love when Zach describes me as like a teen.
Yeah, I have to say, when I watch these movies with you, I am looking at you to see if you're on your phone or not, and large majority of the time you are.
Ian, what is your
But also Zach thinks I'm not looking because normally I have it on my TV and then my computer's in front of me, so I'm taking notes at my computer, so I'm not looking at the TV a lot.
Well, I've always been that annoying kid who, when I sit down and make my friends watch Buffy or something like that, I'm like watching them out of the corner of my eye to make sure they're paying attention.
Oh, Zach, I'm the same way. If I saw somebody, no, like I had to, when the new Twin Peaks season came on in 2017, I had to go around and like collect everybody's phones.
Okay.
I was like, phones in the
Never
basket.
done that. Never done that.
No,
Yeah.
I only did it for that. I only did it for that because I'm such a like this was like such a moment for me. And I was like, I would rather watch it alone, but if you insist on being in the room, your phones need to go in the basket.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this movie is just the original classic. Like I love just so many things about this one. I feel like this one and 2006 blended together could have made a perfect movie. Because this one's more of a whodunit, right? Like
Right.
we don't know anything about Billy. We don't have the backstory. We just have this really obscene caller. And even the calls in this one are a lot more like explicit, a lot more violent. Just something about
It's
the plainness of it just grounds it in reality. You know?
it's I don't. It's kind of what makes Texas Chainsaw Massacre so good. The first one,
Yeah.
because it's just like it feels like. Because again, like for a lot of folks, like you don't know these people. You know, you're. It's not like oh, that's George Clooney. Like none of them are like super famous. It does feel like okay, we could just be watching this through a keyhole. This could be really
I
happening.
really like that. You know, we have a couple different storylines going on. We have the girl who goes missing in the park, and that already sends like a signal that something's not right, that there's somebody else around. You have the calls, you have, you focus on a couple different of these sorority girls, and you just to kind of, I don't know, because I guess Final Girl at that time wasn't really a thing. So
Right.
you're
Yeah.
focusing on these different girls, and you're kind of like, well, we saw the girl die in the beginning. Like, who's gonna get it next?
I will say, even if you don't like it, Ian, um, it's it almost is like I feel like it's like you're getting like a really good fresh organic freaking sandwich or salad. Like it's probably not the thing you're going to pick up all the time, but like it's just it is like it does feel very fresh. I feel like you're still not going to agree with me that it had any merit at all. But I feel like it does feel like it feels like an original, which I know like so many things of this movie have become touchstones that have been copied a million times. But
Okay, that last part I will 100% agree with.
right, so I feel like it is sort of this sort of very early like Rosetta Stone for a lot of horror.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean that's the same thing with with Halloween. I have trouble not comparing it to Halloween
Yeah.
because I do see Halloween, the original Halloween's flaws, but I think it's still like better than the sum of its flaws, and I just don't think this movie is. Um, because I think with the thing the 2006 version did better, quote unquote, it moves faster.
Hmm.
It definitely gives us way too much story. Like I don't give a shit about what's going on in these flashbacks. I appreciate them trying to do something different while still keeping to the original. I think like in between these two movies, there's a really good
Yeah.
movie.
Hmm.
I think if they could be if we could make a sandwich of the two movies, that would be very fresh.
Yeah.
And if we had a good editor who would say, "No, stop that. No, we don't need another scene of them walking around talking, doing nothing." Um, I think that these two movies could be really great, but I think a lot of the characters are flat. I think a lot of the boring stuff is like so boring.
Hmm.
And I don't think we spend enough time with like Margot Kidder clearly has the best kill in the movie. Um, and I don't think we get enough like if it's a horror movie, there's not there like the kills happen off screen most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, Andrea Martin just dies. Like we don't see her die. She like goes in a room and then later we see her dead body. Um, and I think like for me to like it more, there had to have been a little bit more of like cool things happening. I don't know. The calls don't feel creepy to me. It just feels
Oh,
like a
really?
random guy yelling. He's not like quite threatening them. It just like I feel like I've had a
Ah.
customer call at work do that. Like
Okay.
just
Well,
ramble
you should report
incoherently.
that, Ian.
No, but like I think that's what makes it scary to me is that like
Yeah.
you've gotten like I mean I've done customer service like I mean like it feels like a customer service call that you are Margot Kidder about and you're like all right get bent whatever she says
Yes, and I would get
and
murdered.
then like a second later some mysterious person jumps out and throws a laundry bag over your head like it's just like it's very like it's not like I wouldn't want this to be some really well thought out like jokey hello Sydney sort of voice
Yeah.
like I don't want it to be coherent like this is somebody who does not have a plan this is someone who's
Well,
just like
My
a
thing
woman
with
made
that
fun of
is,
me. I'm now going to go stabby. Like it's just
I
very
would
scary.
agree
Yeah.
with that if there was ever a reveal, but the fact that there's never a reveal, I don't find that like edgy or cool. I just find that like, ugh, you just wasted my time. These people all died off screen. Even the main character who dies, like who gets attacked, and her boyfriend who you think is a killer, that attack happens off screen. So like where's the intrigue?
Well,
Like it
Billy
feels
is
like
so intriguing as a character because we don't even know his name is Billy, right? We just get these phone calls. These phone
right, he
calls are
yells about
just
Billy.
screaming phone calls of like it almost feels like he's like recalling moments of his childhood and like acting it out over the phone,
Yeah.
or like screaming about like Agnes, and like where's Agnes, and like then he goes into Agnes's voice and screaming no Billy no, and then back to Billy, back to like it's so demented and deranged and just insane that I think that's like if somebody fucking called me like that,
Oh my god.
I would be gone, man. I would
No,
be
I wouldn't even know
gone.
where to go. I'd be like, I'd be in the house. I'd be in the house, or I'd be trying to leave.
You don't have any street lights, so you're stuck.
I'd be fine. I'd be trying to go to my car, and he'd be in the car. Like I feel like I'd shut the fuck down. Like I'd feel like I would like.
The fact that we don't at the end get, well, we caught this guy. He was an escaped prisoner, and he did this and this. Like I think the fact that we don't have anything
That
like
would
that
have
is
cheapened the
so
hell out of it.
perfect, because then it's like, what the fuck kind of guy is this? And then he kind of just goes back into the attic at the end, and it's like,
Yes.
oh, shit.
And you just see an eyeball and then like a hand. It's so like nobody would do this now. Like, and maybe and you're like good, but like it's like nobody would like this wouldn't make it past one focus group. They'd be like, you have to shoot a scene where the guy comes out and he said, lights a cigarette. He goes, well, it was me, and here's why I did it. And
Well,
now
that was a Black Christmas.
this certainly was a black. Like you have Psycho for that, and everybody hates that part of Psycho, where the therapist comes out and he's like, "Here's why he dressed as mother." Like you don't.
No, that's the Psycho. The relating it to Psycho would be that when we find out the mother's been dead in the basement the whole time and the killer is actually him, not like someone describing what's going on. We don't ever find out the killer. Like if the end of the scene was like, oh, she's laying in bed and then someone is being arrested, we don't, even if they, so I will reference, there's a YA horror novel I read, I think last year, called There's Someone Inside the House.
Mm-hmm.
And am I going to spoil this reveal? I'm going to spoil the reveal.
Spoilers ahead.
The reveal in this horror book, which happens about halfway through, is that it's just some random student doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she recognizes him from one of her classes, but like isn't someone she spoke to, isn't someone it was like he was literally just killing like random people in his town because he had like became unhinged. And like that's okay. Like for me, that's fine. I kind of like that it happened halfway through, and then it's like they know who the killer is. But like I don't need a full explanation. I just need like a not an ethereal killer. Like I need it to be like that person. I don't need to know why. It just can be like if she was like, if we saw the killer and it was no one she knew, and it, the person then got away after he beat her up or whatever he did to her, I would also be okay with that. But I don't know. It just feels like if we're not seeing the kills, if it's and Zachary has described it as a whodunit, if it's a whodunit and we don't know who done it, then like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
And we're not seeing the kills. We're not seeing, like, for me, I just feel, and like maybe if Olivia Hussey was more dynamic, I would have liked it more.
Right.
I think it's fair. I think it all goes down to taste, right? It's like, what do you want to see out of something like this? Me personally, like I like this, and I like that we have to find these context clues and put them all together to kind of create our own picture of Billy. Because even the girl who's found dead in the park, she, we're meant to assume that it's the same guy who did that who's doing this.
It just adds to this like, what the F is going on? Like air. Like there's this sort of vibe of like, what is happening?
Yeah.
How is it all connected? Like it just feels very found footagey almost. Like it feels very just like there's nothing to connect it. And I kind of like, it's one of those things, like you said, Zach, it's just taste. Like I like things to be, I like it better when it's unfinished. And
well, it's like true crime, isn't it?
Why like everything I like is like an absolute flop. Like,
yeah.
it is not widely loved. Like because it is definitely like I'd be like, oh great, like it's like I've heard like from David Lynch that he would have preferred, like if he had gotten his way, he would have never revealed who killed Laura Palmer, like ever.
And yet, that's one of the best episodes of the series.
Exactly. Like, so it is good, but also like gag. Like, wait, like all the cliches. Like, imagine just like, all right, that was the very planned series finale where no one, like imagine like they had just ran for 7 years and were allowed to finish on their own terms, and you just like never knew. Like, I love it. We kind of stumbled upon like a kind of a sort of an interesting solve for this, which would be, it really comes down to the music, maybe.
Yeah.
Because Black Christmas 1974 has like virtually no music to speak of. It's all sort of incidental Christmas stuff, or maybe some, I can't even remember. I don't even think there is a score. But Halloween has this very evocative, albeit minimalist, score that's just pulsing through the whole thing. And if it just, I feel like if you had done like a supercut of like some key scenes in Halloween, with no score, that's just Jamie Lee Curtis walking around fake Illinois with a pumpkin for 5 minutes, like with no score, people would be like, all right, people would be talking about it maybe the way and you're talking about Black Christmas, which is like, speed it up, hurry it up.
Yeah. I mean, and John Carpenter did that. Like, originally, Halloween wasn't meant to have any music, and he showed it to people, and they said, "This is not scary. There's nothing scary about this." And so he went back and did that. So maybe like Bob Clark didn't have that sort of like, I don't know. He kind of created his own thing, and maybe nobody really like gave him notes on it, or
that's the thing. Like, it's one of those things where I feel like this is why you need to have your friends check you, because this, I think Black Christmas could have been like reached that iconic level if it had that sort of creepy someone's watching you score that Halloween has, which is a lot of that. I mean, because again, and you're saying like almost every one of these complaints could be in some way applied to Halloween.
Yeah. I will also give them credit. I mean, Zach mentioned this when we were watching it. Like, I will give them credit for the final girl like having an abortion storyline, which is like for sure unheard of back then, is like still kind of unheard of now. Like, and she's never like shamed for that.
She never questions it. Like, it was amazing watching it, because like she's never like, I don't know what to do. Like, she really is just like, this doesn't fit with my life plan right now, and here's what I'm doing. Sorry, boyfriend. Like, it was really amazing. Like,
and she didn't want to be with her boyfriend. She didn't even want to be with the baby daddy. So
she did. It was amazing. Like, I really would tell people like this movie is important purely for that reason alone. Like, I cannot recall like another thing that didn't really make a very special episode out of it.
So my favorite in the first movie, actually, I think more so even than Margot Kidder, was the house mother, because I really liked the idea of this like, kind of like kind, maybe conservative presenting old lady who like actually kind of can't stand all of these girls and also is secretly drinking when they're not looking. And I thought like immediately that's like, I'm like, ooh, this character is dynamic. I like them.
Right.
I like that she's like everything they say, she like puts on the like, oh, that's great, girls, as if she's like the woman from what's that fucking show I'm thinking of, Mrs. Garrett.
Facts of Life.
God. Facts of Life.
God,
yes,
she was old brains, Ian.
I know. God. But like every time she's in front of the girls, right? That's how she presents, as like this nice lady who like loves the girls and is like wants them, and then like as soon as they're not around, is like, oh, these fucking kids, I can't.
And she's a little bawdy, like she's got that sort of nasty art that she's got to hide from the freaked out dad.
Yeah. And I love that. And I like that scene where she's hiding the girl's painting, and she like puts her hand over the vagina in the like whatever.
Just like so freaking, it looks like the Clockwork Orange boys bar, like crazy.
And also the fact that she's not letting it like cut her act, like she's still 100% with this man, like, oh, Mr. blah blah blah, while there's like paintings of like naked people around her, and like she's still not cracking. She's good at keeping up the air. And Andrea Martin has the range, so I kind of wish they would have given her that in the new one,
right?
Because I think she would have nailed that and even made it like kind of funny, right? Because she's good.
I'm looking up, and I just can't stop looking at it. And I know we said the most iconic death in the original was Margot Kidder's death by unicorn
Right.
toy. But I feel like we can't not talk about the most iconic thing, which is on the poster, which is the
Oh
plastic bag over the
yeah.
face, which is just the poster alone. See, before I even had ever seen this movie, before I was even watching horror, I remember being like 10 in a Blockbuster and just seeing this video and being just like so freaking bothered by it. Like I just was
Yeah.
like, she had a bag over her face. It's Christmas time everywhere. Like it was so like it's stuck in my brain. So when I finally, by the time I was ready to watch the movie, I was like really like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch it. I'm a little nervous. And I just think I mean, I encourage everybody to go Google the original Black Christmas poster because it
It's
is
just
just
and they've used
art.
that on every poster since too, on every updated poster because it is such an iconic kill in that movie that everybody's told by their parents, don't put that bag over your head. Like
Right.
for some fucking reason, that's what we want to do. That's our natural instinct is to stick our bag in a head or our head in a bag. But yeah,
It,
they utilized that. Bob Clark
it's
utilized that,
so like you
and
don't even need blood. Like it's
yeah,
just
you
so
did.
like her death looks so ugly. Like it just and it's the cover of the VHS in the store. Like any kid could see it. It was just like, ugh.
And it's the
She's
opening kill, and then
yeah.
it's the final shot of the movie also
And they
with it's because
never
nobody went up to the attic. Like
no,
we
they never
haven't gotten
find
to
her.
that part.
Like I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my god, she's just up there.
let's go to Black Christmas 2006 though.
If I can.
Directed by Glenn Morgan, who worked on like Final Destination 3, X Files, and it has so many of like the it girls of the time. This
Yeah.
is what I love about this movie. Is it looks great. It is a fantastic looking movie, and the cast that they have was just. It was great. Katie Cassidy, Michelle Trachtenberg, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lacey Chabert, Andrea Martin, like so good.
It is such the cast is wild
Yeah.
because it's like a convergence of like Katie Cassidy wasn't really like she became more famous afterwards, but Lacey Chabert and Michelle Trachtenberg were like very famous at the time, and like Mary Elizabeth Winstead also hadn't done that much at this
This
point,
is a
She
right?
few
was
years
Final
before
Destination
Scott
3.
Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's how she knew Glenn Morgan as she did Final Destination 3 because also I don't even have the actress's name here. Crystal Lowe, the one who played the drunk sister. She was in Final Destination 3 as well.
Yeah.
huh.
And this was like this was even pre Mary Elizabeth Winstead being in Death Proof. So yeah, this is like kind of very early for her.
Yeah, and I feel like Death Proof, Scott Pilgrim, and then like that Die Hard movie are like the things that kind of made her blow up.
Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
And it's a pretty movie, and like they're styled perfectly. Their hair's all great. Their hair's
Everyone's
amazing
hair
in
looks
this movie. Michelle
fantastic.
Trachtenberg looks like if they'd have done season 8 of Buffy, this would be her styling for season 8 of Buffy.
Everyone's
Yeah.
hair looks like that clip from the Buffy credits where Sarah Michelle Gellar like flips her head around and like it's like, from like season 5 or something like that. Like it looks like that where like where everyone agrees to be the perfect Buffy hair kind
Do you want
of
me to tell you how I know exactly what scene that is? That's from the season 5 scene where she tells Graham, "If you tell me to hurry up, I'll kick your ass." And that's when
Is
yeah,
that
and she's in their dorm. Yeah,
for that nothing of a moment we got that iconic look? Like that's great.
oh, so good. Anyway, continue.
I mean, so like I don't know. I think all the stars were aligned for this movie. I do understand that there were instances of studio interference between Bob and Harvey Weinstein and the filmmakers here, which always fucks up a story anyway. But uh,
Weinstein's interfering, not my Weinstein.
I know, right?
Surely you do.
Weinstein's crossing boundaries. My God.
And like you very much feel it in this
Yes,
movie. Yeah.
but upon a little bit more research, I think Glenn Morgan was already going with background story and like he already had some of these elements already set up. I think the Weinsteins they wanted the second killer, so they wanted Agnes. They wanted some of the deaths to be different. I think the original movie was probably going to be a little bit slower, like 74, and they just wanted to ramp it up, make it balls to the wall horror.
I just feel like with this movie, I mean, with that feeling, you just get this vibe of like, it's not any one person's vision. You don't get that sort of
Yeah.
with Black Christmas 1974. Like whatever you feel about it, like it's very much like this is one person made this.
Yeah, and like 74 and A Christmas Story, you can watch those like pretty close together and see that it's
100.
Bob Clark.
Yeah.
And with this, I agree. I totally agree. It seems like a bunch of different cooks in the kitchen. Ian, you want a little bit of payoff with the killer, but you also didn't care about any of this backstory. So what? I don't know what what worked for you. Wait, hold on. So
All
what
right,
worked
smart guy.
for
What
you?
would you do with Black Christmas?
What worked for you with this one? I think with Billy overall.
Well, if you girls are done barking, I'll tell you exactly how I would have done it.
A sorority of our own.
The thing is, literally, if they made her boyfriend who was against her having an abortion and smashed the piano the killer, it would have 100% made me like it more. I would have been so much happier with the movie, because I don't need this full backstory. Although I can appreciate what they were trying to do in this movie with giving all the backstory. They're trying to like make it different
Yeah.
from the original, but still like it of course makes sense. It's just like I just don't care, and it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also too much that Andrea Martin knows that entire fucking story. Like,
How did she know the story?
right. It's just like, oh, she lives in this house where all this awful shit happened, and suddenly she's surprised the killer, like there's a killer living in the house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
That
very like what they saddled Maggie Smith with in some of the early Harry Potter movies, where she'd be like, "Oh, this story, I know the whole thing. The Chamber of Secrets was this. It opens this way, but don't ask me. I don't know anything more than that."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think
I just know the whole story.
She had to info dump. I swear to God, almost every movie. Like,
I think with this one, Andrea Martin. So I think they say it somewhere in there that she became house mother in '93, and then I think the year he killed his parents and like gouged his sister's eye out was only a couple years before that. So I don't know. Maybe she would have been aware of everything going on just from news stories, whatever. Still kind of weird that they put a sorority right in that house so soon after, and saddled a house mother with that. But
it's classic horror movie bullshit.
Yeah,
where it's just like,
yeah.
why would you move into that house? Like, that's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm splitting hairs. I don't really care as much about that. But yeah, like it's also weird that it didn't take place that long ago. It's weird that like, where is this in relation to? Because like in the original, it felt like it was kind of on campus, right?
Yeah.
And in this, I would assume it's not if those like murders happen. But also, how would she know the specifics of the mother fucked her son?
Yeah.
And there was like a daughter, but the daughter like didn't die. Like, I don't know. There's like specifics that she knows without knowing that like the daughter is still living in that fucking house.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion there, and like the boyfriend knows about it all too, and
right.
It doesn't make much sense. I think
that's why you don't need a backstory. Like, you really just don't. Like, it just I swear to God, like, you don't need this crap.
I did see again, like I'm fighting myself here with it because I didn't like any of the backstory. I thought the incest thing was really out of place. It just didn't need to be there. Totally unnecessary. And then, but the smoking mother. I always love a smoking, husky voiced mother. So I liked her. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I liked some of the elements of that. I just didn't like. Didn't like it in there.
So it's funny. I love that you're even argumentative with yourself.
I'm fighting myself right now. I'm just on a podcast by myself.
I'm trying to think of other things. Like this movie also, I will say the 2006 also does do annoying like deaths off screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she kind of dies off screen. Like she's just in that car.
Oh, I like that though. I like that. Okay, so hold on. So I like that, but I would have loved it if it had played out perfectly. So Miss Mac is like, trying to get the ice off the windshield. She sees that whole thing happen, starts backing up, and instead of getting like killed with an icicle, she's backing up, and Billy's getting out of the car, and it's that slow build up, and that like I don't know that tension. But then instead, she just backs up and knocks over an icicle and it hits her in the eye. But
Oh, I hate that.
yeah, crazy.
Okay, so there's one thing I really hate in a horror movie, which I know a lot of horror movies do this. It's like an accidental death. I like that feels too wacky for me, and I
Yeah.
know it's not supposed to be played that way. It's supposed to be like, oh shit, she died, but it just always feels like zany. If it's like, oop, this person tripped and they died, the killer didn't kill them. Like that just is like,
That should
I
not
hate that.
happen in these movies. I don't think that there should be accidental deaths like that. Like even
Yeah.
Eve, we see her for 0.2 seconds. The weird girl who lives in Billy's room, 0.2 seconds, and she even gets like a better kill than Miss Mac did. She gets her head cut off. Like, do something right. I think Andrea Martin deserved a little bit better than that.
Yeah. And like also if like I'm in a big horror movie, especially a remake of an old horror, like give me a cool death. I wanted like, and she could have gotten like it could have been she fell over and then he pulls off the ice pick and then stabs her with it, right?
Yeah, something's. I mean, let's just get real bloody with it. If you're gonna go for it, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ice picks through the eye.
Which I did read that was the studio.
Was that?
Yeah, the studio wanted them to add the eye.
That was
stuff
just
to make
too
it look
much.
more
I think so.
gory.
There's an alternate death for Michelle Trachtenberg, and that was one of those. As she gets a bag thrown around her face, and then he like stabs her in the eye. Which I don't like her death anyway all that much, but I'm glad they didn't go with that.
Yeah. What is it? Like an ice skate that like chops
The
off
back
part of her head and it like
yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah, it's because I mean, it's fucking Dawn. They have to know what she's coming off of, and they gotta know, like, Buffy fans are gonna go watch that just because of her.
Right.
And they want to see her do something.
Yeah, like if she's not the final girl, give her a real fucking cool
Yeah.
death.
So in the trailer, if you watch the trailer, there was I remember being so pissed about this when I was a kid, because I wasn't allowed to go see it in the theater. I don't fucking know why. My parents never had rules about this stuff, but for some reason I wasn't allowed to go see that one. But in the trailer, there's all these cool deaths, like somebody rolling off of a roof and getting tangled in Christmas lights and getting like pulled by their feet, and like I don't know, all these cool like death scenes, and then you watch the movie and none of them are in there. They're not in deleted scenes, and it was just the studio going back and shooting some more exciting content for the trailer.
Which is so weird.
Yeah, I mean they do that though. Apparently they do that a lot.
Yeah, they like it's either like it's like I know Rogue One had that, but that was a lot of reshoots.
As a kid, I would always look on IMDb. Well, we didn't have IMDb. I would always look on like whatever posting board or whatever shit. And I loved reading about shit like that and then being like, ooh, look, I noticed, and thinking I
Yeah.
was like, king shit 'cause I noticed.
I don't know. I feel like this movie like does this thing where it'll take a few steps in the right direction and then it'll like just completely go sideways. So like I don't know. There's a lot of moments like this. They have the cool setup with Miss Mac's death, and then they just completely kill it. They don't do anything worthwhile. Lacey Chabert, I thought hers was pretty brutal. I thought
God, remind me of her death. I don't
she
even remember.
got pulled underneath the porch and like the rake in the back of the head. Remember?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I thought that's stuff like that. Like that's pretty harsh.
It's real like Halloween 4, 5, 6 type kills. Like it's really like what? Like wow,
Yeah.
that person really got it.
And like there's just these cool moments where like they could set something really nice up and then they don't. But then like they go to the attic and they have this really cool like they start to kind of redeem themselves and they have this really cool battle where she's stuck in the wall. I thought that was really good. Like you want to watch a horror movie that's exciting like that. Well, that's the way to go. And then what do? They put her ass in the hospital, and it's like, why? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's weird.
So we get to the hospital and it feels very like
It's Scream 4. It's Scream 4 basically. It's that whole thing.
But Scream 4 did it better.
They did do it better. But then like, why are we chasing her down the hallway? Why is he like stabbing her in the back? And why? Like, I really didn't mind the two girls who ended up living. I liked Lee a lot. I liked Kelly. She was okay. I thought she had some good screams in there. But I really liked Lee. And then they just cracked her neck.
That is such a poor death in a horror movie where people are getting their eyes gouged out for like someone you think is you think there are two final girls. Like also just let her live then.
Yeah.
Like it feels like cheap at that point. Like if that's like if in Scream 4, if like then we had killed Marley Shelton or whatever, and it's like, ugh, don't do that in like the fucking epilogue or whatever.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, in general, I'm like I feel like horror is if it's such a fine line between horror and like action thriller.
Yeah,
And if it wasn't,
which a lot of horror movies are like that, right?
yes, and even I would argue Scream is like a action thriller more than a horror.
Yeah.
Um, but I say this as someone who wrote something that is sort of queasily on the line between horror and action thriller. Um, it's a very easy thing, like, and it all comes down to like how I think it all comes down to like something like this, like how righteous the final kill is. Of like is the villain, you know, like killed in like some crazy way, or so I feel like setting Michael Myers on fire in 2 is horror because it's not like this big victorious where she goes, "You're canceled," boom, boom, like she says some freaking line.
Don't say that because somebody's gonna write that movie, and
Oh,
that's gonna be
someone's
the
like, yeah,
ending.
this Halloween Kills is gonna have some like, because Halloween 2018 had kind of moments like that where it was like saucy line, dead,
You're canceled.
and it just I hate it every time. I'm just like I'm like, have you ever been in like we were in a position of like not having Wi-Fi for 2 weeks, and when I was under that level of stress, I couldn't come up with a single witty anything. Like I was like I can't even imagine. But I feel like I feel like the most correct version of like a horror ending is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the first one, because it's literally just she barely escapes, she barely gets out of there, she can't even think, she's just laughing, and it's the adrenaline is like crushing her brain. Like it just feels the most realistic. Like she's not thinking like, and that's da 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 da. Like,
and that's showbiz, Billy.
And that's
and that's how I met your mother.
That's a perfect way to put it. In like bringing up Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that's perfect. It's like you want to see if this is the final girl, then you see her get out of her situation, and that's all we need to see. We don't need because then with the hospital part, it felt like they were setting it up like, okay, well we need our setup for the sequel, but then they didn't even do any of that.
Right.
Like they end up killing both of them anyway, just again. So
it's like one too many rugs pulled out from under the audience.
Yes.
And this is not to keep being like, well, another horror movie, but like this always reminds me of I was hearing audio of Stanley Kubrick talk about The Shining, where they have y'all seen the like the I don't even think you can see it, but there's like a deleted scene. There was like a deleted epilogue from The Shining movie, and it's basically Shelley Duvall and the kid escape into town, and it's basically like Shelley Duvall in the hospital, talking to the police, and the police are like, "Yeah, we sent somebody up to the overlook. Couldn't find your husband's body anywhere. Like there was like a weird like the thing." And they were just talking about it because they were just like, you know what? They escape. The frickin' movie's over. Like we've already done the thing where he's the ghost in the painting or the ghost in the picture. Like it was just a hat on a hat. Like it's too many. Like it's just you're pulling one too many rugs out. Like it just feels like I think Zach, you said this before. It's just like it feels like there's one ending and then everything after that is like Return of the King ending where it just keeps ending.
Yeah, and if you're going to do some sort of like hospital post whatever, put it in the sequel. You know, just make a shitty sequel and throw it in there. But like the story ends when our final girl gets away. That's it. I don't know. Oh, Ian, you so you got two final girls here. You don't like either movie. Which final girl do you like better?
Katie Cassidy's the better final girl.
Perfect. I like that answer.
Olivia Hussey's estate. I don't know if she's dead, but like, yeah, Olivia Hussey's estate is on the phone. She's really thinking you're going in too hard on her. But
she's a My Bloody Judy listener, right? She's super offended now.
So wait, now that we're at the end,
very clipped.
Now that we're at the end, can I I always do like what I do for my Slayerfest 98 notes where I put favorite scene. And for this, my favorite scene, I like usually do it after we're done watching. And so for the 2006 Black Christmas, which we didn't mention, but we watched it first. So I saw that one before I saw the 1974 one. I put favorite scene. My original answer was none, but then I remembered that wall scene happened. That was pretty cool.
None.
Like where they're fighting in the wall.
Gosh,
And for the
Ian.
1974 version, I put favorite scene, ... 3 question marks, because there wasn't
Oh
one.
my
Oh my
gosh.
god, you just shoot me in the heart, Ian. How are we supposed to watch this every year together if you're just not giving it the energy I require from
This
you?
is invalid.
we'll
This
we'll
is just,
rewatch
it's
it.
just wrong. It's just not acceptable. Oh my God.
Favorite
So
scene, Adam.
are we doing favorite scenes? 'Cause I
Yeah,
feel
go
like
for
someone
it.
deserves to say a favorite scene in this movie, which
favorite
is like
scene,
actually a
both
classic.
movies. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene in this one is I think it's the ending shot. I feel like it's the like you've got the like it's so creepy that she's still up there with the bag on her face. And then they just pull back, and then you've got this like just beautiful scenic with the snow falling and the Christmas lights, and then the sort of ghostly Christmas music coming in, and then the soft credits come up. Like I just think it's like such a perfect little moment of an ending.
Zach, what's your favorite? What are your favorite scenes?
I like the opening of the '74 where the first girl's death, and then 2006. I like the whole attic climax. Pretty big fan of that. But yeah, so we're coming to the end of our 2-in-1 Black Christmas episode. We want to thank you guys all for watching, or for, I guess, listening.
Listening.
Where can everybody find you, Adam?
You can find me on Twitter at the Adam Sass. You can find me on Instagram at It's Adam Sass, and then you can buy Surrender Your Sons wherever you buy your books.
And what about you, Ian?
And you can find me at Ian X Carlos on all social media platforms. And you can find my podcast about Buffy and other pop culture-y things, Slayerfest 98 at SlayerFestX98 on all social platforms. And then SlayerFest98 on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. How about you, Zachary? Where can everyone find you?
YouTube and Instagram at Adventures of Zach and B. Twitter, AdventuresZandB. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have happy holidays, and we'll see you next week with Freaky.
Bye.
Bye.